Look at these green books of the most difficult and perplexing greens in the world. These books reveal the secrets of Augusta National's iconic greens, and the details are so accurate that in 2022, players were banned from using them during the Masters tournament. But these books from Strackerline are a kind of X-ray into the genius of Augusta National's greens, and they offer us clues about how players navigate them. The thing I want you to notice about these green books are the different colors. The green and blue parts are where the green is flat. During most regular tour events, those areas cover most of the green. But at Augusta, the greens are covered in pink and red. These are parts of the green where the slope is so severe that when you combine it with the speed of Augusta National's putting surfaces, the ball has almost no chance of stopping. This is how Augusta National confuses and frustrates the best golfers in the game. How the course pushes players far outside their comfort zone. It's all by design. Almost every hole at Augusta National forces players to make a choice, a kind of fork in the road, to pick either option A or option B. A binary choice, but one at the center of every Masters game plan. Alright, so if you've watched some previous game plan episodes, you've learned the basics of good approach shot strategy. And really, it all comes down to creating little buffers for your misses. Budgeting for margin of error in a game full of mistakes. For instance, it's really important to avoid the short side of the green because statistically, it's just a really bad place to be. That's why Scotty Scheffler tends to aim somewhere between the middle of the green and the pin. We call those his green zones, and it makes it harder to miss on the short side of the green. Pros also stress about their cover numbers because it helps them pick a club that they know will avoid all the trouble short of the green, even when they don't hit that club perfectly. This buffer strategy works on most golf courses because if you just aim based on where your worst misses would end up, your misses will usually stop in a pretty good place overall. For example, the image we showed earlier was from the 13th hole at TPC San Antonio, which players play before the Masters. You can see how players don't need to go hunting for flat spots here because there are these big flat spots basically everywhere on the green. If the pin is on the front right of the green, and you aim for the middle of the green and then miss long left, you'll still have a pretty flat birdie putt. But the awesome thing about Augusta National is that this is never really true. Augusta punishes certain misses so severely that you can't really budget for them the same way you normally do. Instead, you have to aim for very specific parts of the green that are kind of hard to find. And they're all based on that day's hole location, which means they change a lot. The reason why is because of a combination of Augusta National's severe slopes and the wicked speed of its greens. If you haven't been to the Masters, you've probably heard about how the place is unbelievably undulating. And I can attest, it's very true. However fast and hilly you might imagine it being in your mind, add another 20 or 30%. It really is remarkably undulating. If you're a history geek like me, you'll enjoy this 1988 GolfDigest story which used computers to model Augusta National's elevation, and this stuff is insane. The 10th hole itself plunges more than 100 feet from the tee just to the fairway. And when you consider that Augusta National's greens aren't particularly big, they're about 6,400 square feet on average, it just creates these huge slopes on the greens. Slopes so big that the ball simply has no chance of staying on them, especially when you consider the speed of the greens. When the USGA measured the speed of Augusta National's greens back in the 1970s, it clocked them at just shy of 8 on the Stimpmeter. For reference, that's about as fast as your standard well-kept municipal course today. But nowadays, Augusta National's greens are probably rolling about 15 on the Stimpmeter.
16 on the Stimpmeter. this is what it looks like.
When you look at images like this, the important thing to know is that pins aren't usually placed on anything more than a 4% slope, which are colored in green here. And at Augusta National's green speed, it's going to be almost impossible to stop the ball on areas of the green where the slope is more than 5%, which are all these areas in pink, as PGA Tour putting coach Ralph Bauer explains.
So basically what it is, if you multiply the percent of slope times the stimp, anything over, really anything over right around 39 is the ball's not going to stop, right? So if you've got a 13 stimp at a 3% slope, that's going to be right on the edge. But if you got a 3.2% slope on a 13 stimp, it's not going to stop. You don't see golf balls going up to the hole, momentarily stopping and then rolling away. So they never really cross that threshold, but they come as close as possible to that. So
to put it simply, it means that the greens play a lot smaller than they appear. You may have heard the term effective green size. It's a term that basically means the actual playable area of the green. The parts of the green where the ball will actually stop. If your ball isn't on the effective green, it's not going to stay there. You're not going to miss a shot and then have some flattish 30-footer like in that TPC San Antonio example. That 30-footer, if it catches the wrong slope, is going to roll all the way down to 60 feet, or maybe even off the green altogether. It leaves players two strategies. Option A is to aim directly at the tiny flat spot on the green in order to avoid being punished by a slope. Or option B, which is to aim for a slope that they think will help them, and then let the slope roll their ball towards the flat spot. What might be the right strategy one day could be the completely wrong one on the next. It all kind of depends on the hole location. Augusta's 6th hole is a pretty great example of this. On paper, the green looks quite big. It's about 7,500 square feet. If the hole plays about 190 yards and the pin is back right, as it often is on Sunday, a smart shot on paper at a normal course would be something to the middle of the green, which covers that front bunker at about 175 yards. A safe shot that in theory would leave you about a 30-footer for birdie on a tough par 3. But when you look at the hole's green book, you can see that the effective size of the green is actually really tiny. When that pin is placed back right, literally any shot, short or left, is pushed more short or further to the left. You could actually see Scottie Scheffler fall victim to this during the final round of his first Masters win in 2022. He hit a pretty decent shot about 30 feet left of the pin, but just missed the flat spot. And so it rolled all the way down, some 70 feet away, into a range where tour pros 3-putt on average about 30% of the time. That's why the game plan on this hole to this back right pin is to go with option A, to get way more aggressive than you ever would ordinarily, to aim straight at the pin to a tiny 30 feet by 30 feet plateau. The cover number isn't to that bunker at 175 yards like it would be on paper, but more like somewhere in here, some 10 yards further up the slope. They don't aim at the middle of the green because they know the ball won't stay there. So they aim their shot cone way more to the right of the ridge. Risky, but it's either that or a putt of 70 feet or more. It's why you can see Tiger aim straight at this pin during his final round in 2019. He stuck it to 8 feet. And the thing about these really long-range uphill putts at Augusta National is that the slopes are so steep that it makes them almost impossible. Sam Wyman is a colleague of mine who writes the Low Net newsletter for GolfDigest. Every year, the Masters runs the media lottery, where, if you win, a lucky member of the media gets to play Augusta National the Monday after the Masters. And Sam won last year, and that was his takeaway, that the uphill putts were surprisingly actually kind of the hardest.
I went into every putt thinking it would be the fastest putt I've ever faced. And I don't even think I really struggled on downhill putts or even level putts that much, at least as it relates to the speed. Like, I was prepared for that. I kind of had that down. But anytime you faced any sort of an incline, you were expecting a similar type of speed, and what you faced instead was you had to really hit it with conviction. And the number of putts that I left short that day, I mean, I think I could count on 2 hands the number of times that I felt like, oh my God, I can't believe how short that was.
But while Augusta's slopes are always severe, they don't always hurt you. If option A is when players take dead aim at the pin to avoid the slopes deflecting their ball further away, option B is when the slopes are friendly, when you aim away from pins and then use the slopes to bring your ball back towards it. The 18th hole at Augusta is low-key my favorite hole, and probably my favorite example of this too, because it showcases both option A and option B. The green slopes steeply from back to front. On Saturday, the pin is often on the flat spot at the back right quadrant of the green. That's the effective green that day. Because any miss short of that pin would end up rolling all the way back to the front, players often take option A here and aim directly at this pin. But on Sunday, the pin on 18 is usually on the front left, on a flat spot less than 40 feet wide and less than 20 feet long. But this severe slope behind the hole means that players can employ option B. If this is their effective green, and they miss short or spin it too much, this slope will push their ball off the front of the green. But if they use this big slope behind the hole, it will bring the ball all the way back onto the flat portion of the effective green. It's why 3 of the most famous Masters-winning birdies with this hole location all did the same thing. First Sandy Lyle, then Phil Mickelson, then Adam Scott's birdie, which led to a playoff win. They all landed past pin high and rolled back down the slope onto the flatter portion of the green. The par 3 16th is another great example. When the pin is on the right of the green, players go with option A, because this big slope will push anything left all the way down and away from the pin. But when the Sunday pin is on the flat spot on the left, everyone goes with option B. They aim at a big slope to the right of the pin, and then their ball funnels down. It's why you see so many holes in one on Sunday to this hole location. And this is what makes Augusta National so ingeniously challenging, because it presents a mental challenge, a strategic challenge, and a physical challenge. Players first have to know where the slopes are. Then they need to mentally commit to hitting their ball to a place that often feels uncomfortable. And then they need to actually hit the shot. And the next time you wonder why only one rookie has won the Masters since 1935, and why the same players play well and win the Masters over and over and over again, this is why. Because the course keeps secrets. Augusta National has greens that deceive your eyes, and it takes players years to figure them out. And most never do. For the rest of us, maybe there's even a little lesson here. To look beyond the middle of the green on every shot, and to go actually look at the playable area of the green. To feel the contours of the putting surface and to ask yourself, is this a slope that's going to hurt me, or is this a slope I can use? And then start working backwards from there. Because as Augusta National shows every year, there's often something lurking just beneath the surface.